Hello and welcome. You're tuned to the League Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, and we're sans Paul Mawadi today. No Paul.
No hooker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just a couple of likely props joining you for the League Up. Where's Paul? He's away. What is he doing? Golfing, I suppose.
I'm guessing Friday golf. That's Paul Mawadi's diary.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. Avondale Guineas last week, Steve.
Yeah. Yep.
2 horses cleared out. Desert Lightning and White. Any change to that Derby market, I guess?
Well, just a slight adjustment around Desert Lightning, 10 into 8, and that third line, Waitak, roughly around that $10, $11 quota that was prior to the race. But they brought the A-grade form. Waitak around Pro-West, Desert Lightning coming out of the Karaka Classic on Karaka Million night. So they brought the vintage form and they cleared out roughly 3 lengths to the opposition. So I'm not sure it's the Derby form. We'll speak about that this time next week. But well, they deserve to be in that third and fourth line currently when it sits into the futures market.
Yep, and then in the Avondale Cup, what else did we see last week? Southland Guineas.
Yeah, Equiquade. Look, she brought all the right ingredients. She was hitting the nice speed ratings leading into the Avondale Cup. She sat 1 kg off the minimum and she put the field away nicely. So she's deserving of the $2.20 quote for the Auckland Cup in 2 weeks' time. Back at Pukekohe. And the marketplace got it spot on with her. And down in the south, what do we have? The Southland Guineas.
Yeah.
Press charges, 2 from 2.
Lisa Allpress in front,
Lisa Allpress and Terry Ray. So you can't knock the horse. In terms of form line around that race, it's just hard to grasp. The race rated horribly, roughly 4 lengths below par. Specialty, I'm not sure what you do with Specialty. Look, he has shown at times his preparation as a 3-year-old to chuck in a shocker. But he regressed massively off his Gore Guineas victory, the Dunedin Guineas victory. He was a touted favourite to put them away on Saturday, and he regressed significantly, roughly around about 4 or 5 lengths from his previous start. So, not sure what to do with Specialty, not sure what to do as the race in general going forward, but press charges hard to knock 2 from 2.
Yeah, no, they didn't forget to back it either. Lisa Allpress, Terry Ray. Cricket starts at the Basin Reserve today in Wellington. Hopefully, the weather should hold for today in particular, but one man that's coming back from the cricket there is Brendan Popper. Well, good morning to you, BP.
Good morning, team. Yes, looking forward to that as well. And there's nothing like a day at the Basin, so I really enjoyed the day out of Bay Oval and under the lights. It's cool. It's a really neat way to watch cricket. But of course, we get the chance of seeing it at the Basin this afternoon over the next few days, weather permitting. Yeah, looking forward to what's coming up this weekend, guys. I think there's a lot to really sink our teeth into, especially with that Group 1 race. I think that's held up really strongly. Club will be happy with how that race has come about. And of course, Matamata, it's an important day for those 2-year-olds that are looking towards our 2 Group 1 2-year-old races coming up through the racing season. So it really does set ourselves up before we crack into what is going to be a huge couple of weeks with the Derby and the Auckland Cup and the Sistema 2-year-old. So, yeah, lots coming up over the next few weeks.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a big day. Those 2-year-olds, that size produce futures markets out, Steve,
yeah,
as well?
during the week. Tokyo Tycoon, roughly a $3 fave, heads the market. And obviously we'll see that individual tomorrow, but a little bit to unfold when it comes to that futures V final field in a few weeks' time.
Okay, BP, you had a few days off, but you still managed to find us a maiden of the week. Where did you land this week?
Yeah, I actually went to the Friday meeting. I think we could have found a couple too out of Pukekohe on Wednesday, but I do like this race because it's a horse that we identified on the form in Sir Sterling, who just looked to be trying to find that right race. This was the right race last Friday with Sir Sterling because he bounced out of the Maven Bell Al Manzoor Trophy. Now we've seen other winners bounce out of that race, and I did like the second and third horses in this race. They really do present like they're going to be winners next time to the races. Fierato just was checked off hills right on the line, and Belladonna Lily was a horse who came from back last in positioning to finish into second spot. So I do like the race. Sir Sterling looks to be a nice horse. I mean, they tested the water in an Al Manzoor Trophy, so they clearly think a fair bit of him. He got the job done there, and I think second and third are horses that we can follow.
100%. It was he led them up, Steve, and got the job done, Sir Sterling.
Yeah, look, the raw abilities there, you can see it on the eye.
He's
just
floated
doing
it out
a
a
few
bit,
things
isn't he?
wrong. He laid out in the concluding stages, just affected the second and third horse late. But look, the abilities there, whether he's a horse that will lead going forward or they just wanted to lead and get the job done in maiden class remains to be seen. But as BP alluded, it was in black type or in a nice 3-year-old race, 2 starts go as a maiden galloper. So the stable think a lot of it. Belladonna Lily was just huge. Considering the ground that horse had to cover, v the winner and the third individual. The Belladonna Lily's got a win in its short term. And yeah, look, in terms of figures, again, maiden class, you look at to the 600, last 600, they're never going to go close to the open class par times, but the overall figure speed rating was 1 length below par, which is no knock there.
No, okay. Okay, guys, 4 races we want to have a look at. We're going to start at Otaki, Stephen. What track are we going to see at Otaki for Group 1 day there? A little bit of rain about.
Look, so the current rating is a soft 5. You see there graphically, cloudy with isolated showers. Look, we're in Wellington/Petone this morning, Thaddeus, and there's no rain thus far, which is good for 2 reasons. One, the race is tomorrow, but obviously the cricket starting today. But look, the problem is the rain forecasted to hit Otaki tomorrow. So we're looking at a soft 5. Gee, we're hoping it's no worse than a 6, but we might be clutching at straws there because the showers are hitting the track roughly around about tomorrow morning in the afternoon. So, yeah, it's hard to get a cemented pentrometer reading, but yeah, I think it's my guess it's probably going to play somewhere between a 5 and a 7.
Yep, okay, interesting. Run us through this market for the Group 1, Steve. A couple of quality mares hitting this lineup.
Yeah, Levante heads the market, 230 up to 250. La Creek got as short as 270 off an original price of 280, just now travelling at $3. Look, Wild Knight's come in significantly, $5 into $4. Prise de Fer at $13, so you're seeing the second division here at double figures. Perfect Scenario at 21 with Lightning Jack. Pride of Aspen at 31, the local, and Chase at 41. And True Enough will come out. We've just heard that it is a late scratching at a $41 quote, so look, the market won't reshuffle greatly because of that, but the speed map might have a little bit of a reshuffle because.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's have a look at the speed map, and obviously it'll have True Enough in here, so you'll have to do a bit of a work on the fly. Potentially makes it look a little bit better for La Creek.
Yeah, I changed the speed map 2 or 3 times during the week. Originally I had True Enough and La Creek fighting out that leading position, but I just gone with La Creek. I think La Creek will look to hold that position. Definitely for the first half of the race. If True Enough was starting, then maybe they would have pushed forward a True Enough mid-race. But take him out of the equation, I think La Creek, that is your favourite, or that is your leader, should I say, come the Group 1. I think Wild Knight, I think Michael McNabb will look to be fairly positive with the 55 on his back. We saw him sit in that one out, one back position in the Herbie Dyke. He might even get across to sit outside the lead, or if he gets a little bit of cover, he should be in a similar position to last start. Perfect Scenario and Levante. Look, Levante being 1600, I think they'll try and be forward of midfield, knowing that their biggest rival, La Creek, will get that default lead. Now, Prise de Fer chase around that midfield solution, and Pride of Aspen, Lightning Jack, probably from their draws will have to default to the last third. But look, overall tempo, I think they'll go below even fractions. So again, it puts a little bit more of a positive spin on La Creek purely where she maps and leads.
So potentially Levante to trail La Creek, is that what you're saying? Is it off that map?
Oh, look, it's an interesting. We'll talk about it in more depth, and it'll be key to get BP's thoughts around Levante. Look, she's just shown low tactical speed over 1,400 metres when they've run very quick sectionals, in particular the BCD. They went out above 5 lengths to the 600, so she just didn't have the toe to hold a position from an ideal gate this campaign, even though she'd drawn a sticky gate last start. But over 1,600 metres, they're not going to go hard as to what they would do in a 7 furlong race. So, yeah, I'm sure Ryan Elliott will have his aim, knowing the fact that his biggest rival is La Creek, and if he can be somewhere within maybe 2.5 lengths to La Creek round the turn, that's the key. But where he sits in the map leading up to that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think being the small field and the speed being below par, they'll be looking to be just forward of midfield.
Let's have a look at that BCD Group Sprint BP, because it's a pretty relevant form with Levante and La Creek. Running good races. A little bit strange with the riderless horse though as well.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it, with Mustang Valley? Yeah, you're right here. I mean, race shape is the big talking point with Levante, no matter what race she runs in. If it's a 1,000 metre race, a 1,200 metre race, or what we have here over 1,600 metres on the weekend. And that's always the talking point with her, because she's a horse who doesn't get out cleanly with them. She's normally in the back half of the field. And then you look at tempo of races. Tempo of races like this one, where they've gone very hard up front, and she seemed to be losing contact with those horses that were in front of her. And this race here on the weekend seems to lack a lot of speed, but it's a small field. And of course, it'll be run differently to a 1400 metre race, with this being over 1600 metres. So there's all these variables and different balls floating up in the air here around Levante. You're right, if she can be closer, if there's that chance of being, you know, sitting in a fourth or fifth position, immediately she becomes a very strong chance because she's not giving her key rivals, as we know, some important lengths in a race where it really could just turn into a sprint home from about the 600 metre mark. So if she's close enough to them, and when that sprint goes on, I think for sure she is the one to beat. But then if this race becomes a bit cat and mouse and she misses the kick, she gets back last on the inside, this race could get really niggly as well, even with it being a small field for Levante. We all know that she can rip home and she can fly home in her last 600. We've all seen that. She's a quality horse. She's a Group 1 performer. With Le Creek, looking forward to seeing her go up in distance. I think that's the key for her, isn't it? Getting to 1600 metres. She got run off her feet a touch, didn't she, in that race in the BCD Group sprint over the 1400 metres. Probably found a spot that they didn't expect to be in with Le Creek, a horse that had a lot of runners around her. She got some kickback and, of course, swallowed some sand, and all those sorts of things happened. It was a race that just didn't really happen for her. In saying that, she still ran well, didn't she? She finished, fifth position, beaten 7.5 off the leader, who's just on another planet at the moment and is airborne in Imperatriz. So I think there was enough in the run, despite all those factors that were against her in that race, where tomorrow she can be in her favoured spot, up on speed, controlling the race, 1600 metres. I guess the other thing that might be against her is where does this track get to? She has one on a 7. She's been placed on a heavy 10, of course, at Group 1 level over 1400 metres in a Tarzino. I wouldn't mind forgiveness in the track which she's going to get, but yeah, that track rating is the key one, because as we know, they didn't take their place in the Thorndon on a heavy surface, so I'm sure they don't want to see that track really get out to that sort of 9 or 10 bracket. But yeah, the way I break this race down, it does look to be a race where it's going to be down to those horses that find that key position in a race that sort of lacks tempo.
Is this why the market's sort of reshaped a little bit, Steve, on the back of this potential rain and a downgrade? Because probably Levante and Le Creek might be in the same boat to some degree.
I think they're in the exact same position here. They don't want any worse than a 7, Levante and Le Creek, where Wild Knight, he's probably more proven on a genuine 8 or a 9. Whether it gets to that deep, I'm not sure. But this was Wild Knight's last start, third in the Herbie Dyke. And Michael gave him a peach here. Peach of a ride, 1 out, 1 back. Had every opportunity to run out the strong 2,000 metres. Look, he may get a mile and a quarter as an older horse. But you've got to remember, this is vintage Group 1 field. You've got the winner who's proven over in Australia as a Group 1 horse. Defibrillate's also proven as a Group 1 horse over in Australia, running 6th in the Auckland in an Australian Cup. So, look, the horses that bet him home.
No slugs.
No slugs. Not to
knock Wild Knight.
Yeah, but I think they've made the right move back to 1600. Blinkers are on for Wild Knight. He could sit outside the leader here. Clearly, he'll be in the top 4 in the map, possibly top 3, top 2, depending on the intent of horses around him. But
so he won't mind a bit of action.
He won't mind. He won't mind. The progeny don't mind it. The Vanbrugh, we've seen with Mustang Valley, etc. Yeah, he wouldn't mind it if it got to around that 7 or 8 compared to the other 2 rivals in the pointy end of the market.
Yeah, okay. And Levante and Le Creek? I mean, Le Creek's run in the BCD sprint, I didn't mind it really. It was very soft in the market, but
very soft.
Getting
very soft.
Home strongly late.
I can remember we were talking about it, and even BP mentioned that he was going to get on Le Creek if it hit that $5 mark, and that's fair enough. But then when it got to $6.57, you knew something was up. It just drifted remarkably and too significantly to be investing on it. It got out to roughly $8.59, which was over 2 times what its original price was during the week in the BCD sprint. So look, the market identified it was going to be an ugly map where a lot of people suggested it was going to be in that sweet spot in the BCD sprint, possibly 1 out, 1 back, but it found its position back around horses. The kickback, as BP mentioned, so a lot of things went against it. Its concluding stages, its last furlong and through the line was very good. I think she's the map horse. I really do. I just keep going back to her now with True Enough being withdrawn today. There'll be no mid-race pressure, possibly, that would have been put on Le Creek. Yeah, I just think she's the map horse. if she runs anywhere near her Arrowfield or Arrowfield stud plate form line at Matamata earlier this year, she wins this every day of the week. But obviously she's probably not going to produce that speed rating with the given the track. She's more potent on that good 3, good 4 surface. So as we mentioned, the rain affected going just brings a bit of a leveller to those horses that have that genuine turn of foot to the rest of the pack. So, but yeah, I just keep coming back to her. I just think she's the map horse and one of the map horses on the day.
Okay, BP, there's one other race we want to have a look at, and that's the White Robe Lodge. With Prix de Feu, obviously, and the winner of that day was Perfect Scenario. Prix de Feu, if you can just put a line through what you saw last start down at Wingatui, you'd have to have him in calculation, but it's pretty tricky off this run.
Yeah, he's a tricky customer, isn't he, Prix de Feu? And he is a genuine Group 1 horse because he's proven it. He's run in this company, for the last 4 years, and has been able to achieve Group 1 placings, and of course this season a Group 1 victory in a Captain Cook Stakes, beating Agon. So, that was on a soft 6. Is this field? Where does this field sort of sit in comparison to the Captain Cook Stakes? So if you've brought that form, well, you'd have to say he's not a $13 chance, is Prix de Feu. But then, that day, I'm almost prepared to forget about it. It was a very hot day. He got warm. Look, they've taken a while to get home. They've only just got back from the South Island, to be honest with you, these two horses, in Prix de Feu and Perfect Scenario. But yeah, he's probably one of those horses, if you've been with him, you might as well stick with him because you've got a chance of playing for $13. He's a must for trifectas and first fours. If the track condition gets to that heavy bracket, it's always been a concern for him when it gets beyond about a 7 for Prix de Feu. That would be the issue there if it does get to heavy. Look, Perfect Scenario, deserved a shot at a race like this. It was a good ride from Joe Cameroon, cut the corners at the right time, got underneath horses and raced away. And look, has been racing well this season, has Perfect Scenario. So he's worthy of his shot. I think a couple of other horses here that we need to mention are runners like Lightning Jack. If the track gets into that condition like it was at Trentham in the Thorndon Mile, he's run 3rd in that race behind. He's a doozy. Things didn't quite pan out for him in that race too. He could have finished closer. He's a horse that's at a big quote. And even Chase. I mean, Chase is a horse who ran 3rd in the Captain Cook Stakes 2 starts ago in behind Prix de Feu. So you look, there's enough of a mixture here that it's not just about these 2 at the top of the market or these 3 at the top of the market. With these other horses that do have some Group 1 form lines around them. I'm with Le Creek. I think her price at $3 is quite attractive. With that little ease out to $3, and like we've spoken about with just where she can land, and if she's an improver off her run last time, which you'd imagine she's going to be with things not going her way and getting that more distance. The one I am truly worried about is Wild Knight, because if he does get into that position of being outside leader and he can really almost control the tempo himself with where he gets into a position like that, with wet track conditions, he's going to be awfully hard to beat. So yeah, in the end, it's hard to get away from these 3 that are rock hard in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick word on Prix de Feu, Steve. I mean, that win over Agon on a Captain Cook was quite breathtaking. It was a fantastic win. What we can put a line through last start, surely. And people that backed Prix de Feu throughout the campaign, there are plenty of them out there, will be very pleased to see $13.
Yeah. I don't have the confidence that you may have, or the forgive card around Prix de Feu. Okay. When you get to a Group 1, you just want everything to work out right, spot on. It's those 1 and 2 percentages that can be quite crucial. And Prix de Feu Ferry got delayed in the week. He was meant to come on Tuesday. I think it's been pushed back to Thursday. He's obviously back in the North Island.
Not going to get on the ferry at all.
True. So there's a little bit of a setback. But yeah, he just went too bad to give me confidence to be winning a Group 1 against a stellar field, albeit the depth isn't there, but the quality's there around the top 2 or 3 in the market. I just feel that there's just a slight negative around his last start performance and how much he needs to improve, which we've seen in the past, but we're talking 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's quite recent, isn't it? So happy to take a slight set against him. He deserves his double-figure quote.
Okay. BP with Le Creek. It sounds like you are as well. Is there any chance that Le Creek pushes for favouritism here in your mind?
100%. Yep. Yep, absolutely. I think but the key around Levante is just seeing how the track plays as well, because she's going to be back on the rail regardless whether it's midfield or worse than midfield. And that might make it a little bit sticky for Ryan Elliott, albeit it is a small field, I concede that, but there might be an IG factor, inferior ground, later in the day, and she might just have to get herself away from that, and it might be a little bit tricky from where she maps with horses on her outer, where La Creek, she can dictate, and he can, in terms of Craig Grills, dictate to come to the centre of the track a lot easier in that leading position. So, yeah, I've got La Creek, and answering your question, yeah, there's a strong possibility she could start fave. I'm not sure how much edge there is in the $3 price. I'm kind of going back to Levante drifting rather than La Creek firming greatly.
There's some money for them outsiders here, isn't there? I mean, and that's probably with the rain.
Lightning Jack, rain factor. You could argue that he should have gone close to winning the Thorndon Mile a few weeks ago. I think that money will dry up on race day, just purely on his overall profile. But Wild Knight always tracks money, always, even on race day, and what we've seen working up to the Saturday Wild Knight. So, yeah, I've got La Creek to win, Wild Knight second, a slight negative around Levante. Not just so much on the price, but in terms of the map and the track conditions.
Okay, BP and Steve lining up there in this year's El Cheapo Cars Wait for Age Classic over the mile there at Otaki. $3 La Creek, $2.50 Levante, Wild Knight the shortener, $5 into $4 its current quote. Okay guys, Matamata, big day out up there. It always is a big day out, Breeders' Day, Slipper Day. Steve, we better have a look at track conditions. How's the track going to play up there at Matamata?
Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. They might get away with it in terms of the showers hitting on race day. You see the periods of rain, but more importantly, I think tomorrow's looking okay. Obviously, BP can give us a little bit more rundown outside his window of what's hit that region the last 2 to 3 days. But look, we're currently on a soft 6. They've had 23 millimetres of rain overnight, which is quite significant, but hopefully that's the last of the heavy rain. The rail's back in the true position. So the last meeting at Matamata was a midweek meeting on the 25th of Jan. That was a soft 7, and the rail was out 7 metres. So there's some nice fresh strip from 7 metres inwards to the rail, and hopefully no worse than a 7, and maybe with an upgrade of a 6 on race day.
Okay, first race we're going to have a look at is race number 4, Steve. It's the Fairview Matamata Slipper for the Colts and Geldings over the 1,200 metres. Small but select, let's say.
Yep, and a bit of Karaka Million vintage form around Tokyo Tycoon, the winner obviously at $1.70. Original price was $1.80. He's clearly the best bat runner, not just in this race, but in all races we have open on Saturday at Matamata and Otaki Tokyo Tycoon. A number of 4-figure bets to drive that price in. In front of the stablemate and Trubrion at $2.80 off the original price of $2.7. To Catch a Thief at $8 out of turn there. Double figures around Burn to Shine, 14 out to 15. Sarko at $18, and Latin Way was withdrawn yesterday out of Whanganui to take its chance at a black type race at 26 from the original price of 31. So overall summary, yeah, it's all one-way traffic around number 1 in Tokyo Tycoon.
Yeah, no surprise, BP. And the race that we'll probably have a look at first will be that Karaka Million 2-year-old race. And I think Craig Zaki would probably have replayed this race about maybe 1,000 times since January the 21st.
Surely, because it's a peach and it's worth $1 million. So there's enough reasons why you'd want to keep watching it. And look, what a win it was too by Tokyo Tycoon. I just love the fact that this horse, once getting into the centre part of the track, just changed up the speed and just took off. And look, reined in Ulanova. We've seen what Ulanova's been able to do at her following start by tearing away with a victory in the 2-year-old Platinum Homes around Taranaki. Third horse, of course, is going to be his biggest danger again tomorrow in Trobriand. Look, one thing I will mention just around track conditions and weather, it has been quite... look, we have seen a lot of rain, certainly in the Hamilton region, and as Stephen said there, 23 mils of rain. Look, there is some more rain in the forecast. I just feel as though if there's more rain through today, look, it could get out beyond a 6, and there's rain in the forecast for tomorrow as well. So I really do think this could be a bit of a watch with what happens around the track conditions. I remember talking yesterday on the forum about, you know, it's only sort of patchy, but it sort of looked like there might be a little bit more than maybe expected from yesterday. So I really would be watching what happens today and keeping eyes on Love Racing and of course on the Punters Lounge tomorrow morning when we try and get those updates around track conditions there at Matamata. It could be quite important just to see where this track might be if it goes beyond a 6 by the time we go racing.
Do you make anything about the jockeys, BP? Craig Zaki and Opie Bosson? What's the situation there, do you think?
Well, it's pretty hard to take a guy off who's won the $1 million race, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, I think Opie rode Trobriand last time to the races. Craig Zaki is his last weekend here before he goes back home, so no, I don't think we can read too much into it really. He's won on the horse and he got the job done, so why not? Can he get it done again tomorrow in the Matamata Slipper? Look, the horse that did run third can win the race as well, though. There's no reason why he's got himself a chance of drawing better. He's drawn in barrier number 4, smaller field. So often we can see the horses that win the Karaka Million lineup in this race and can go back a couple of lengths before getting ready for those 2-year-old Group 1 races coming up. So this could be an opportunity for Trobriand to turn the tables on Tokyo Tycoon tomorrow as well. So yeah, look, I really do think it's between these two horses and the market will tell you that.
Steve, thoughts here? Trobriand was pretty good. The race sort of set up for something to run on from the back in that Karaka Million 2-year-old, although it was a fantastic win from Tokyo Tycoon, of course.
Can't knock. He almost picks himself, Tokyo Tycoon, from what we saw in the Karaka Million. It was a bit against him. Even though he was quite firm in the market, he started fave in the end when we opened him, I think roughly second fave in behind Trobriand, purely on that Opie Bosson factor. But punters weren't against him, even though he mapped back from the wide gate and he got the job done. Yeah, there was a bit of luck involved down the straight, getting the right splits and whatnot, but I think it was the only way to ride him. And to win the race, he had to rely on a little bit of luck coming underneath horses and getting the right split down the centre. But look, he probably maps, even though it's a small field, he probably maps last outer, Tokyo Tycoon, just looking at the map. It's always hard to engage maps when you've got these juveniles roughly on a small sample size, 1 or 2 starts individually. But I think they'll go from the wide gate or barrier 6, the outside gate. They'll just ride him a little bit neutral, get him a little bit of cover at the back of the field and then present him down the middle part of the stretch, home straight, and ride him like the best horse. Does
that give Trobriand a chance, potentially?
Well, Trobriand was in front of him and the Karaka Million got run down as well. So but they'll be looking to do the same scenario here. I'm just going back. BP makes a good point around Karaka Million winners, how they've fared in this race in recent years. And look, Dynastic, the Karaka Million winner last year, was a non-starter when it came to the slipper. But you go back to 2021, On the Bubbles won the Karaka Million, started at $1.70 in this race and ran second to the stablemate in Sword of State. You go back the previous year, so we're looking at 2020. Cool Azabel won the Karaka Million and started at $1.30 in the slipper at Matamata and ran second to a stablemate, and need I say more. So just recent bias around it. It can be done, and we can see the stablemates turn the tables on that form from what's come out of the Karaka Million.
There's still sharp improvement in some of these 2-year-olds, BP, isn't there? That things can change quickly.
Yep, for sure. And when was that race? Middle of January, and now here we are getting close to March. So there's going to be horses that improve. There's also runners here that didn't compete in that race, and I think a runner like To Catch a Thief, they actually were qualified. They were in the race, and they decided just to pull back and have a real good shot at this autumn period of racing for To Catch a Thief. And really, you'd line up all of his runs. They've actually been on point. His run behind Trobriand when finishing third. The horse has bumped into Tokyo Tycoon and Trobriand at its 3 race day starts. He's the one I'm most worried about in the race, to be honest with you, because there's something about him. I think he's a horse that I know Graham really rates, a horse who he likes as a 3-year-old prospect. There's no reason why he can't run a race on the weekend. And if there was one to possibly split the pair, or maybe even go one better, it could be him.
Yeah, I've been impressed with all of his runs. He's been deserving of a little bit better than a 4.33 form line, but he has form behind Trobriand and Tokyo Tycoon, so he is certainly a player. One horse we don't know a lot about, Steve, is the 1-start 1-win Burn to Shine. It was impressive on the synthetic, albeit, but quite a win.
It was a very good win. Look, there was 2 or 3 horses that respect in this market, and Burn to Shine had vintage trial form leading into this on the synthetic and got the job done. By So You Think out of Smolder, and Smolder was a a very good mare. She was well up to group class, and she was very adaptable on rain-affected going, and So You Thinks don't mind a little bit of give, but a bit of put their toe into the turf as well. So on pedigree, you suggest this horse might handle the off-track that's presented tomorrow afternoon, but just on figures, you see they're quite alarming. It was red, 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 and the class rating was fractionally below what was required to be bang on par, but it still needs to improve roughly 5 lengths to measure up to what we saw in the Karaka Million, the likes of Tokyo Tycoon and Trobriand. So 2-year-olds can improve significantly start by start, just purely on being young horses and developing very quickly through just purely racing and ringcraft and whatnot. But I'm just thinking maybe it's 2 or 3 starts behind where it needs to be in terms of development. And I don't know if they're looking at a size produce around this horse, potentially, yep, but for Saturday's assignment, I'm willing to just take a slight set against it.
Okay, and what about BP's To Catch a Thief? Has been consistent and looks to be an improver.
Yeah, look, I think its main dilemmas in its first 3 starts, in particular its first 2 starts at Te Rapa, it was just slow away and just had to finish against some more profile juveniles over the top, and that was probably its one negative, but as BP said, it's had a bit of time away. They bypassed the Karaka Million when it was eligible. So I'm sure the team there out at Matamata has just been working on its starting manners, able to jump, utilise its jaw, which hopefully it can do from barrier 2, put itself in the race, instead of having to have 2 or 3 lengths catching on the horses that have been pointy at the market. But look, it deserves to be clear third line at $8. Again, I kind of feel it's found its measure in terms of the price purely because there's going to be a lot of weight and betting profile against the 1 and the 2 and the 2 and the 1. But it wouldn't surprise me if it runs a cheeky race. But
hard to see it challenging the top 2 potentially.
Yeah, I think the key is it has to be in front at least. Whether it's in front of Trobriand, I'm not sure, but it's got to be in front of Tokyo Tycoon. At this stage, I just don't think it has to turn a foot. So if it's in front of Tokyo Tycoon come the business end around that bend into the home straight, it's got a chance. But look, it's a progressive horse, and maybe what BP's mentioning, a horse that they're looking at the 3-odd races to really hit its straps.
Yeah, okay, BP, hard to tip against the fave here. How would you attack the race?
Yeah, look, I'm going to suggest a bet here for the race, and it's around To Catch a Thief. This horse is $1.60 to run a place. I mean, the Tokyo Tycoon's paying $1.70 to win the race. This horse is, to Catch a Thief in a 6-horse field is paying $1.60. I mean, if you wanted to go even a little bit shorter, you could take the $1.25 to run top 4 for a multi, and all it has to do is beat 2 horses home. I really do like that top 3 price around To Catch a Thief at $1.60. You're right, Stephen. If it can jump away with them, that's a key. Because if it can jump away with them and use the barrier draw, puts himself in a gun spot, you really do believe, and on his home track, freshened up. Yeah, I think he's a chance of running in top 3. And hey, look, he might be running 3rd, but that's okay. If he runs 3rd behind Tokyo Tycoon and Trobriand, it's still top 3. So 160. I'll take some of that.
Yeah, 100%. Nice one. Nice way to play it. Nice inclusion in the multi. Tokyo Tycoon, Steve, brings its A-game wins.
I think so. Look, I think Craig will know that he's on the best horse, and even though it might look a little bit sticky mid-race because he's going to probably map last outer, I think Craig just rides him like the best horse, get him going before the home straight, be within a length and a half at the turn, and he'll let down and continue as the high profile and the number 1 seed when it comes to juveniles in the country.
Okay, $3 in a size produce in that futures market if you want to have a look at that before tomorrow's slipper there at Matamata. Okay, intermission time, half time, no Paul Mawadi, but he has managed to give us another instalment, a thrilling instalment of Minute with Mawadi. I believe it's Failazet.
I'm Failazet, and I'm apprentice to Mike Breslin.
Who's been the biggest influence in racing for you?
Probably Kevin Wise. He's helped me out.
What was your first car that you owned?
Oh, it was a little Peugeot. It was tiny.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Most famous person in your phone contacts?
That's a hard one. Kevin Myers.
Your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I've never done karaoke.
You ever?
Never.
Your favourite NRL team?
I don't have one.
Favourite junk food?
Ooh, chocolate.
Who has it easier, jockeys or trainers?
Probably jockeys.
Favourite board game?
Monopoly. It's amazing.
Your favourite cocktail?
Mojito.
Your first celebrity crush?
Michael Jackson.
Favourite horse you've ever ridden?
Probably. Oh, that's a tough one. No Time to Jazz.
Favourite movie?
I don't really have one.
You can invite 3 people to dinner. Who are they?
I don't know. Probably some of my family because I haven't seen them in ages.
Race you'd most like to win?
I don't think I really. I'd like to win a group race next.
And a horse we should be keeping an eye out for this season?
Oh, that's a secret.
You're wearing Kevin Myers colours as well. I wonder why. Oh, thanks, mate. That was brilliant. You were great.
She's obviously been well trained, Steve, by Kevin Myers because he gave away nothing.
Few price analysts here watching the show and was waiting for that little edge on what horse she was going to mention out of the Kevin Myers barn, but not to be.
Didn't get it. We didn't get it. Might have been Vadaboom. Maybe that's where Paul Moati found Vadaboom. Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Potentially down there at Riccarton a couple of weeks ago. Thank you, Faye Lizette, for taking time out to have spend a minute with Moati. Race number 17. It's the J-Swap Contractors Mutter Breeders Stakes, Steve. Run us through this market. 2 pretty talented types up the top of this one.
Yeah, similar to the Slipper. A couple of horses that dominate the market. Ulanova at $1.85. That's the original price set on Wednesday. Zurion at $3.30. Again, hasn't budged since the opening quote. Pignan at $9. It's come in in fact 2 turns. Opened at $11, now trading $9. Low Flying at $10. Shoes at $15. Sky on Fire and Rubicon Crossing, the stablemate, 16 each of 2. And Best of the Rest at $31. So in terms of movement, again, Pignan is the best backed in terms of a firm, 11 into 9, but when it comes to the 1 and the 6 and the 6 and the 1, Zurion holds 3 times more money than Ulanova at $1.85.
Boy, that's interesting in itself, BP. But look, Ulanova's win in the Taranaki Classic last time was something to behold and really franked that Karaka Million form.
Didn't it? I mean, she's just blowing them off the racecourse here. She's won by nearly 7 lengths, and with the way that the track was playing this day, it was the spot to be up against the rail on speed, and she brought all those factors. I mean, she was terrific in the Karaka Million. At one stage, halfway down, it looked like she was going to peel it off until Craig Zaki finished on strongly down the centre part of the track, and a couple of others went past her. So she was really game in defeat. What happens tomorrow in this race? I mean, surely she's just not the only horse that's going to be able to find that front position. There's got to be more speed in this race. There is a couple other here that want to go forward. She's drawn in barrier number 8. She's very fast. Is it just a case that she's going to be the one that's fastest to the spot that she wants to be and will keep on running? But then what does that do to the race? What does that mean for other horses in the race that maybe get themselves in a better position? So, yeah, that was a cakewalk last time, and it's very hard to try and tip against a horse who's won by nearly 7 lengths at its last start of the races. But I just wonder here, Stephen, the race shape is just going to be a lot different for Ulanova this time round, you'd imagine.
Yeah, on face value, yes, BP, but you look at that win at the Naki, she's gone extremely hard. They've run 34 and change to the 600, which roughly works out to be 7 lengths above standard. So she's gone very hard leading, and she's kept that sustaining sprint on the way home. The last 600, she's produced the fastest of the race, the last 6.42 closing split. So there's every opportunity for horses in behind her to finish stronger sectionals than her because she's done all the donkey work, and as I mentioned, she's gone out very hard to the 600 and kept up a strong gallop. So I just think they'll keep pushing the button here on her from barrier 8. They'll look to find that paint, come across and keep going regardless of what the speed is underneath her. They'll just try and find that spot and keep going because they know that even if they do go hard for the first half of the race, you can keep up that strong gallop come the concluding stages of the race. So Yeah, look, there's going to be more pressure, but are they going to run a quicker time to the 600 to what she did last start? I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty hard to beat 7 lengths above par to the 600. But yeah, I see what you're saying, because that awkward gate, and there's a few here, the likes of Sky on Fire, Rubicon Crossing, who's drawn an awkward gate as well, but Sky on Fire has drawn that ace draw. I'm sure they don't want to give up that crucial barrier and try and put it in its spot. Maybe they just give up that position leading and get the trail position in behind the favourite, but yeah, she looks awfully hard to beat just on what we saw. Not just on the eye, but backed up on the clock at the Naki.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. The second favourite, BP Zurian. Have I got that right? That win, that Taupo was pretty good, and look, Slipper nominated, so obviously an opinion of the filly as well.
Yeah, and I like this win, and you'll look at this and think she's only won by half a length. We just looked at a horse who's won by nearly 7 lengths. What are we comparing here? I think the horse here, though, on this occasion was slow away from an inside draw, kicked up and found that forward position, was looked at by a horse who competes in the Mudda Mudda Slipper, and I love the way that she really knuckles down to her task and puts this race away. So I thought that in terms of an outing, it was a really good one from her. And she's drawn barrier number 7, so she's drawn inside Ulanova. It's going to be interesting what they want to do tactically with her. Where do they want to try and slide and find that spot if there's going to be all that red hot speed up and around her with, as we've spoken about, Ulanova and a couple of other runners that are drawn low that want to try and either go with Ulanova. So there's going to be that chance of trying to find a sweet spot in the race for her, and can she be the one that closes? Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, it's pie in the sky stuff, isn't it? Nominating a horse for the Golden Slipper, but you don't just go and nominate any old horse for one of the richest 2-year-old races in the world in the Golden Slipper. I clearly think that she must be up to the grade of even contemplating getting on a plane and going to Rose Hill. She was a $475,000 purchase. So, look, with all those things in mind, $3.30, I'm still happy to have something on her, because if the races run right for her and things don't quite unfold for the favourite, she might be the one that's coming out of the pack.
How exciting would it be, Pops, to have a starter in the Golden Slipper from a Kiwi starter? Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we've had Rude Awakening.
Yes, that was the horse I was trying to think of.
He went to the Golden Slipper, and of course, look, we all have memories of Al Maskey. Look, that's that's a race that will forever burn in my memory. The day that Al Maskey ran in a Golden Slipper, and you actually thought that Al Maskey was going to win it at one stage. So yeah, look, it'd be terrific. It really would be great, and I know that's something that the Tiako barn would love to do is have a strong representative in the Golden Slipper.
Talk about that win, Steve. Zurian.
That was a good win. Yeah, look, face value would have thought, it should have won by a little bit more considering the marketplace. They backed it as unbeatable on the back of its trials, pedigree, etc. But as BP said, it just was awkward away, but lucky it drew the ace. It was able just to go on its natural speed, cruising speed, to find itself in the leading position come the turn. It just veered to the centre part of the track where there was inferior ground on the inside part. But yeah, I loved its last 100 and through the line. I thought that was its best work throughout the whole race, Zurion.
Yeah, looked good on the line, didn't it? Look, it was going away again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get a bit of form reference around Sarko, who contests the slipper in the day. So just keep an eye on what Sarko does, if it can run above bet expectation, because it's one of the loose outsiders in the slipper. But if it can be fairly competitive and only be beaten by a couple or 2 or 3 lengths, then you can work some form reference heading into the later part of the day when it comes to the breeders. So the Opie jumps on, that's a positive in terms of the marketplace. And look, it's a well-backed commodity. What is it, $3.30? Punters reinvesting after collecting at Taupo. BP, $3.30. Well, let's have a look at your crystal ball. Where's the SPs in terms of Ulanova and Zurion come tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, I've been trying to work this one out, Stephen, actually, just what happens here, because is there going to be a flood of money for Ulanova and she tightens up? Those that saw what happened last time out, those that were on the horse when it won by a cricket pitch, they want to line up again? Or is it the Zurion camp, as you said? Because Zurion was really well backed. This horse was second favourite in that race and started a very dominant favourite. Did those punters get involved when they see $3.30? I don't think there's too much difference with where their prices actually are right now, Stephen. I really don't think there's going to be much of a difference either way around their prices. There might be a little bit more support Ulanova to get to that 175, 170 mark, and maybe Zerion starts 340, or does it sort of go the other way and it's 320 versus sort of $2, $1.95? Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be that much leverage in terms of difference in their prices with where they sit currently right now.
Okay, BP. Is there anyone else we need to touch on here outside the top two, and how would you attack the race from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. I think horses like Low Flying, who went to Matamata last time and won, of course, we'll have to get there the long way with this runner trained by John Barry out of his Hastings stable, and we are really thinking of everybody in Hawke's Bay that are affected by the floods, and of course with our racing industry as well, with them having to go not via Napier Taupo Road, so to get there. So this is an extra long float trip for the horse, probably about 7 hours, something like that maybe, for Low Flying. But we know that John Barry has done this before. He's targeted this race with his good 2-year-old fillies beforehand, and certainly going there and having a little recce like he did with this horse and produced a good win last time out to the races. Low draw, Craig Zaki aboard. And Pignon with a runner that bounces out of a Wellesley Stakes. Wasn't that far off them. He's had a good trial since. Is hard in the market, and that single figures at around that $9 quote. Look, if you do like the two favourites, there's $2.70 available on the fixed Quinella right now. If you are looking at both Ulanova and Zerion as the two at the moment, that doesn't seem to be too much of a bad play for me. For me, overall, I am going to have something on Zerion. I sort of feel as though the 330, 340 price, if it's around there, I'm happy to be on.
Okay, fair enough too. The horse certainly shows a lot of ability. 30-second steep to surmise that race. That's all you've got.
I think Zerion will be the losing liability for the traders downstairs, but I do think Ulanova is going to be very hard in the last 5-10 minutes of trading. When it comes to Low Flying, I can't see this horse winning on what I saw in its maiden win at Matamata. 4 lengths inferior, its maiden win v Zerion's maiden win at Taupo, and the second horse, Mizzucato, was very disappointing at Pukekohe last weekend when it was favourite. So Low Flying, happy to take a set.
Okay. Last race we want to have a look at, gents. Race number 8 on the card. So that's obviously the Kaimai Stakes, the Matamata Veterinarian Services Kaimai Stakes, Steve, over the 2,000 metres. Got emergencies in here and a decent size field.
The compressed market, headed by Zagunto at $4.50, in front of the Tiakau Pier, and Bell and Rouge 4.8, and Bella the Bull at 6.5. La Flora Bell at $9, sharing the same quote as Colorado Star, the Taranaki Cup winner. St. Alice at double figures at $10, the Mare at 11, Pep Talk, a recent winner at $14 with demonetisation with a big weight, Langkawi at 18, Ruark $21, Atarangi Best of the Rest at 26. There's no clear lead here, Thaddeus, but naturally you're seeing the punters gravitate towards the Tiakau Mares and Bell and Rouge, Opie Boston, and Bella the Bull at 6.5.
Yeah, it's not unusual in itself, BP, but they're running the anniversary. We think they Quinella'd the race. They're both very good.
Yeah, and you can see why they're leading lights. Now, they're both drawn bad, but that may not be such a bad thing in this race. There's a lot of speed here, isn't there? I mean, Sagunto, when you have Sagunto in any race, we know that the pace is going to be genuine, but there's a lot of other runners here as well that will want to go forward, so you'd imagine this is going to be run at a good clip. These are two horses that are drawn out, but they're runners that will like to try and get home. Very similar to that race, actually, in the anniversary. So expect them to be rattling home. Look, Bell and Rouge is just one of those horses that can put in a crook one, and we saw that last time in the Wide Upper Breeders, but can turn it around. She was a horse, if you remember her running the Matamata Cup, for instance, through the spring period, where she ran poorly and ran below beating expectations, where, man, every time you bumped into someone on track, they were saying that Bell and Rouge wins the Matamata Cup. I remember that quite clearly because my tickets tell me that, and she didn't. And look, she's a horse who's then obviously, overcome that, and she's got better throughout the preparation. Bell of the Bull, we know, will be closing a horse that has been super this preparation. There are so many chances in this race, though. Let's be honest about it. This is a leg of the quaddie where you are going to need quite a few runners, and if the track turns and gets to a 7 or 8, this could mean it becomes more of a minefield. I really like the Mare, runner number 3. This is a horse who ran 4th in a Group 1 2 starts ago. He's been a bit of a favourite of mine because he can bob up at very good prices. I think he's presented at a price where he will be at a quote of around $11. He's a horse who can go forward, but he might just be able to tuck in and find a spot just away from that red-hot speed of Sagunto leading the charge. I thought his effort last time out behind Ladies Man, he was only 4 lengths off that horse in the Trentham Stakes. He does bring good form. He has Australian form. We know that he's been able to perform over the Cross of Tasman for the last couple of years. Thought he was a bit, especially on the each way, the Mare, runner number 3.
Oh, I like that, $11 around the mare. Nice sort of each way price. Steve, Sagunto's current favourite here. Good second last time out. Was actually behind one of the race rivals in Pep Talk. I would say surprise favourite, but I can see either one of these potential top two, Ballon Rouge or Sagunto, starting favourite. It was a big effort after it got to a big lead, Sagunto, last time.
So you see Pep Talk and Sagunto here running 1 and 2 at the Bay roughly 2 weeks ago, and it was a good effort from Sagunto under the big weight. He meets Pep Talk 4.5 kilograms better off on Saturday, so that's a significant weight release in the favour of Sagunto. He's just been Mr. Consistent this time in. I think he's fraction better left-handed as well, Thaddeus. His one failure in just recent times was right-handed at Pukekohe on Karaka Million Night, but they've gone very hard, you see there. They just kept running. That's what they like to do, Sagunto and Pep Talk. Run their rivals into the ground. You see there 4.2 lengths above par to the 600, and they just had that decent margin to keep it up to a winning challenge, in particular Pep Talk on that occasion. But yeah, I think there's a lot of favours, and you just know what you're going to get with Sagunto. He's going to push forward. He's going to lead, even though there's that torrid speed that BP alluded. Your Colorado Star, no loitering from the outside gate, will push forward. But look, he will be the leader, and it's kind of irrelevant the speed that's behind him because he'll go naturally above par to the 600. So the difference being this time, and he might not clear out to be 4 or 5 lengths in front of the rest of the field. It might be only a couple of lengths on the speed that we mentioned about outside Sagunto. But look, his last 11 starts this time in, he's finished 1 or 2, 7 of them. So as I mentioned, he's Mr. Consistent. You know what you're going to get.
Well, what about the Colorado Star? I mean, it led them up last time in the Taranaki Cup. Probably won't get the lead this time, Steve, with the Colorado Star, but upset winner, but strong on the line.
Yeah, no, we're heading into this race, we're looking for that leader. We're looking for that leader and that horse to just stack them up and sprint home. But that wasn't the case. You look at the numbers, it's quite telling. It was first time past a mile, Colorado Star, up to the 1800. And they've gone along. He's gone along here to the 600, 2 lengths above par, and they've run home 34.64 off the front with an overall speed rating of 1.7 lengths above par. So if he can replicate that, stepping up in distance fractionally, but I don't think that's any negative for the son of Alamosa, he's right in this. Look, he's not going to lead as you mentioned, but if he can get some cover maybe in the first 3 or 4 and present at the top of the straight, yeah, I've definitely got him in the top 2 in what is a very open field.
Okay, BP, yeah, speaking of open fields, this is certainly one. How are you going to attack the race? Sounds like you don't mind the mare each way.
Yep, I'll be playing an each way ticket on the mare. I think Sagunto will give you a sight. We all know that. Interesting to see the horse has never really performed on the home track. It's 4 starts there for 4 unplaced runs, which is look a little curly one, but as Stephen has spoken about, runs better left-handed. But yeah, $4.50 is about the right price for the horse, and you're expecting the Tiago pair to be closing hard in Ballon Rouge and Belle of the Ball. And look, if Colorado Star can run up to what he did last time, it was good to see him turn the tables and bring his better form that we've seen from a couple of seasons ago. He's hovering around that $9 quote. But yeah, again, track conditions could have a part to say in this race also. But I'll go with the mare. It sits at around that $11 quote, and what's going to be a tricky race. I thought the Kaimai Stakes over 2,000 metres, if you're just trying to work out what runners you don't need if you're looking to explore a wider ticket in the quaddie.
Yeah, the quaddie's going to be a nightmare. Steve, many chances.
Well, Langkawi won this race 12 months ago at a big price. We haven't even mentioned his name, the stablemate of Sagunto. Yeah, I'd probably speaking around number 2, Colorado Star and the mare. 2 horses that should just be off the speed. They won't mind a bit of aqua if it falls on race day, so they're a safe bet this far out.
Yeah, okay. Interesting race, very tricky race. Go wide in the quaddie. Maybe to take the field. Steve Davis, there's about 18 or something in there, so won't cost you too much. No, you might have to shave it down a little bit. Good luck trying to do that in this year's edition of the Kaimai Stakes. Okay, gentlemen, we've got to wind it up for another week. No Paul Mawadi this week, but we're going to the best bet, Steve. And where did you land for your best bet this week?
Yeah, I went to Matamata Race 5, Zaitaka in the rating 75.14. Gee, it was a ripping run last start at the Bay. Second at Hastings, and behind an unbeaten type. You break down the race shape at the Bay. They've come home a sharp 34.98, which is 1 length above par to open class standard. And Zaitaka was mapped in that race back in the last third and running. Ran home ripping sectionals, running home 34.98, 1 length above standard, and was closing the best sectionals to 6.42 in the race. Zaitaka. It's drawn an outside gate, but negated by the factor that Opie Boston's aboard, and I think the race will be run at a true tempo. So Saitaka, he's a better than a 75 grade horse. He's an open class galloper. That's what's based on his numbers. And if he's not winning tomorrow, it'll be in the short term in this particular grade.
Yeah, okay. No, so did you mention price? Do we know what price we're taking?
Yeah,
roughly?
open $4. I think he starts closer to 3 than 4. I think last time I checked it was 380.
Yep.
That was yesterday afternoon, but he probably starts shorter, or a little bit shorter than the original price.
Okay, BP, where did you land? You're fresh up. You've had a week off, but you're fresh off a win as well. So where are we going this week?
I'll go to Otaki race number 2. I really do like Hold the Press in the race. This horse was beaten last time out 2 of the races, of course, and behind Imperatriz when beaten a margin of 6 lengths on Karaka Million Night. She does have very good form on different types of track conditions. If it gets wet there, that's not a problem. She's a horse who has had 6 starts on a heavy track for 2 wins, 2 placings. If it holds around that soft surface, no issue at all. So she's a very adaptable mare. She's locally trained by the Benner Wynyard team. There's already been support for her from 350 to 320. The one horse I would be worried about in that race is Sergio, because as we know, when Sergio gets to the front, he's a very hard horse to get past, and he showed that last time to the races. But I was happy to be on Hold the Press in the second race of the day, and the local galloper should give a really good sight, you'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold the Press. Yeah.
Sergio won't like any rain.
Right.
Gee, your confidence grow if there's rain on the day and it's hitting race 2. Sergio, I'd be surprised if they started on anything worse than a 7 or 8. But
All right, no deductions.
well, there you go.
Well, there you go. Righto, guys, we've got to wrap the show up. We're going to go to the Twitter poll for the week. Get onto the Twitter, the TAB Twitter handle. Leave a comment, be in with a chance to win a $100 bonus bet. These are the horses in the poll. Vote for the horse you want to see boosted, or the top 2 will be boosted. Our Alley Cat, Matamata Race 6, Ulanova. That should be popular. Matamata Race 7, Nom the Plume looks a good bet in the 3 or 4 year old set weights race number 5, Otaki and Levante in the Group 1. Their race number 7. So get onto the Twitter poll, have a vote. Last week's winner, Mike_Slayer1. Mike_Slayer1. $100 bonus bet is in your account, and you've probably had a crack at it already. Promotions, Bonus Backs Blitz is on again. First 4 races at those venues on Saturday. Let's have a look. Matamata, Otaki, Royal Randwick and Sandown. We know how to play it. Have a $50, up to $50 bonus bet. Refund if your horse runs 2nd and 3rd or 4th as a bonus bet. And no deductions, no surprises. Continues at this stage until the end of March, so plenty of time, and with a little bit of aqua around all over the North Island. That may come into play tomorrow afternoon. BP, have you seen the new NRL Power Play or Power Predictor option there you can have a little crack at?
I certainly have. Yes, I love it. Great initiative. So get amongst it, and your first $5 bet on the NRL Power Predictor will give you a $10 bonus bet for round number 1. The Warriors play the Newcastle Knights in Wellington next week as they start their journey of 2023. The One New Zealand Warriors. Let's hope they can get themselves into the top 8.
Keep the faith, BP. What are your movements tomorrow?
We'll be here looking after the Punters Lounge, and of course the big day out of Matamata from the studio. Aidan Rod will be down at Otaki for our Group 1 day, so should be a really exciting day of racing. And across the Tasman, things really do start spicing up now as we move into that autumn period. So great day to be sitting down and watching and having a few bets.
Yeah, Chipping Norton, Oakley Plate Day. Thanks, BP, for your efforts as always. Cheers, Stephen. In the office tomorrow?
In the office tomorrow, looking after futures, whatnot, and Derby Day this time next week.
Right, that is something to look forward to. That Derby
That's
is...
at Upper.
Oh, right, Derby at Tarapa. Yes, of course. Yeah, right. Well, that is interesting. Well, that's going to be an exciting show in 7 days' time. We hope you enjoyed yourself again today, and we'll see you then on the Leg Up.